another video here at TCH. I'm into the 25-25-50. It's the biggest game they run. It's a live stream right back here. In for $10,000, my largest buy-in ever. Let's get right into the hands. Make sure you like and subscribe. Let's freaking go. Run good incoming. Bang! All right, first hand a note here. I decide to play pocket fours in an aggressive manner against my German fellow money maker of the German variety. I decide to 3-bet him to $450 from the button. He puts in the call with the pocket fives, and we see a pretty great flop of ace jack 6. It's a great flop not because I connected well with the board, but when I'm 3-betting him from the button, I'm going to have all the strong aces and jacks. My range is just going to wrap around nicely this ace and jack on the board. So when he checks it over to me, I decide to down bet and I go for 1/3. That gets the job done. Snap fold from him. He folds the best hand and we win a $1,300 pot right out of the gate. Moving right along, we pick up the bullets, pocket aces, and I'm on the button once again. I decide to raise it up to $400. The $100 straddle was on. And Dong's going to continue with 75 grand in his stack. He came to play and he looks down at 10-6 of hearts, puts in the call, and we are off to a flop which comes jack 8-3 rainbow. Dong checks it over to me. Into the $900 pot comes a c-bet, and Dong thinks about it for a little while before doing something interesting. Obviously, he has some backdoor draws. He has nothing at the moment, so you think he could call my $450 bet fairly often if he wants to continue. But he's playing deep stack poker, Texas poker to be exact, and he goes for the check raise all the way up to $1,500. At this point, he's representing any sort of hand, jack 8, 9, 10, pocket 3s, pocket 8s, ace jack, although I do double block that with 2 aces in my hand. Still, I'm at the top of my range. I can't be folding the bullets. I put in the easy call, and we are off to the turn, which is an interesting card. It comes the king of hearts. Interesting card because it brings in king jack, now having 2 pair. But if you look at his exact hand, he now has that backdoor flush draw that is coming in, and he doesn't slow down and decides to bet out for 2.3K. Looking over at my stack, I have around 8.5 grand in that, and I probably want to be going for a raise. I do have the ace of hearts in my hand, which is interesting because I block a lot of his flush draws. I think calling and raising kind of go 50-50. I like raising more because I want to get rid of a lot of his equity. For instance, right now he has a flush draw, 15% chance. So yeah, even though I'm winning this 85 out of 100 times, getting a fold here is still a win because I would take down the pot with no chance of losing it. So for that reason, I decided to rip my entire stack all in. If he has a drawing hand, he's going to have to pay to play. He has enough chips to do it. And when I rip my entire stack in, he thinks about it for a little while before ultimately folding. Wow, surprised he decided to fold that flush draw. Would have loved for him to get it in a 15% dog. But when he folds, we take down that pot, and we are up almost 5 grand early on in the session. All right, real quickly, if you guys are from Houston, come out on Friday, April 21st at 7 p.m. I have a meetup game at TCH Houston. It's their new location. And if you guys want to catch me also on Thursday, I'll be playing a 5-10 no limit live stream. And that's on the 20th at 6 p.m. But definitely come out on Friday and make the vlog. Let's get back into the hands. All right, I'm in the +2 position, and I decide to raise a suited ace all the way up to $150. We are going to go Texas heads up to a flop when pretty much the entire table puts in the call. We are going off to the flop, which comes 7-5-4 with 2 spades and 1 club. I have a gutter to the straight. I have a backdoor flush draw and 2 overcards. Pretty decent flop for me, but I decided to check considering it is multi-way. And Kenny with his top pair and also a gutter to the straight bets out for $150. Obviously, I'm not going anywhere. I have a lot of backdoor draws, so I decide to put in the call. Pretty standard so far. And we are looking to see one of a few cards on the turn, and it comes the 6 of spades. Bang! We turn the straight. All right, game face on. I check it over to Kenny. He doesn't slow down. He also makes the straight, and he bets out for $300. Now, when the action's back over to me, I think about my 2 options. Obviously, I'm never folding, having a straight. Calling makes the most amount of sense, but what would a raise accomplish here? For instance, if he had a set, he can't just fold to 1 raise, so I think getting more money in here with a raise is kind of a cool move. Additionally, if he had a 3 in his hand, we could probably blast him off here on the turn in the river and get some more money in. If he had an 8, there are 3 spades on board, so if I blast off here on the turn and then go crazy on the river, there is a chance. I know it's Texas poker and people don't like to fold, but it'd be pretty scary if I bet really large here and then ripped it on the river. I mean, he'd have to put me on some sort of a flush. So I decided to raise it up here for all those reasons. I just want to get more money in with pretty much the best hand here a lot of the time. I raise it up to $925, which is just a standard 3x. And after a little bit of thinking, Kenny decides to put in the call. That leads us off to the river, which comes the ace of diamonds. Doesn't change anything. Unless he has 8-9 or a flush, we are good in this hand. And for those reasons I mentioned on the turn, I decided to go large here. Going large will obviously bloat the size of the pot. If he has a set of 7s, a set of 5s, something like that, he might just call off. If he has a 3 or an 8, he's obviously calling. And if he raises here, it's pretty much an easy fold for me, knowing he does in fact have the flush. So I decided to go big. Kenny puts in the call, and when it's all said and done, when the dust settles, we chop up that pot, and I'm still up almost $4.5 grand in this session. All right, here's the thing, you guys. When I first started my poker career, I was playing pretty tight, a little bit scared money. I decided to change that image this year and play a lot differently, but once in a while, you get some comments in the live streams and the YouTube videos saying I'm still playing too tight, I'm still scared money. So for the haters and in honor of Robbie, I decided to play the Jack-4 offsuit. If we're gonna change our image, we gotta do it with a crazy hand with pretty much no equity. And we see an interesting spot here, and I think this is a great spot to do it. The low jack puts in the call of $100. Let's remember that the straddle is on for $100, so a call is pretty weak by Dong. But at the same time, he's the type of player that would also call here with like kings, so you can't put too much merit into that. Now, Ari decides to go for the 3-bet up to $350. He's also a pretty good player, and he's a thinking player. So when Dong just puts in the call, maybe he's doing this light, and he's trying to get Dong to fold, just pick up a bunch of dead money early on and just move on to the next hand. So I pick up on this. Ari has been raising a good amount, and he came all the way out from Chicago. Shout out to you, Ari. So he's going to want to get invited back by playing a little bit looser. You can see my read was correct here. Queen-9 offsuit. He raised it up light, just targeting Dong there, wanting to go heads up in position. No, Ari, not so fast. Jack-4 offsuit incoming. I decided to play this from the big blind, and I go small to $925. Pretty crazy to say that I went small to $925 a few years ago. That would have been an insane play for me that I never would imagine, but we are raising it up to almost $1,000 here with the Robbie, and the action folds back around to Ari. You can hear the announcers say that this probably will get through.
Pretty small sizing, so Ari may decide to peel here, but I prefer to be suited if we're going to peel here with a hand like this, but he might just be getting too good of a price.
Yeah. Queen-9 does play pretty poorly, even in position. Also, it's wow, he goes for the 4-bet.
Yeah, it does decide to put in the 4-bet instead. If you're going to continue, I do prefer a 4-bet over a flat here with a hand like this.
But Ari has other intentions. What is he doing? He comes back in for a 4-bet and makes it $2.5 grand. How did he sniff out that I was weak here? I haven't been raising too many hands, let alone out of the blinds. I have to be way stronger. Man, great 4-bet from Ari. I have to let go of the hand. I'm not going to show it to the table. Now we're up 3.5 grand on the session, but gotta love the heart there, and I'll definitely try that in the future if the opportunity presents itself. Interesting spot here when Moneymaker opens it up to $250. I'm on the button, and I decide to flat call with 7-8 suited. 3-betting is fine. Flat calling is also fine. If you don't think the people in the blinds are going to 3-bet you, sure enough, we are going 4 ways to a flop, an $1,100 pot, which comes king 7 deuce with 1 spade. Having second pair and a backdoor flush draw is pretty great. When the action checks over to Moneymaker, he goes for a small bet of $300, and for that price, I can't think about folding. A lot of great turn cards for me, like any 7, 8, or spade, would give me additional equity, and those first 2 cards that I mentioned would give me the best hand. So I decided to put in the call. Raising is off the table, and JD and Dong both get out of the way. And we see a turn card, which isn't great. It comes the King of Hearts. Not great in the sense that we are drawing dead on this turn. You can see I have 0% equity, and Moneymaker obviously now has 3 of a kind. He goes for a bet of $600, and after a little bit of thinking, although I do have 2 pair, it's just not the best hand, and I only want to continue here in position when I pick up some equity. So considering I have 0%, I decide to make a smart fold, and we move on to the next one. All right, interesting spot here. I'm in early position and open it up with the ladies to $150. Kyle Z, who hasn't been playing many hands, he's directly to my left in the +2 position, and he 3-bets me to $500. When the table notices his strong move here from the +2 position, it folds back around to me, and against many other players on this table, I'd come back in for a 4-bet. However, I am going to be out of position the rest of the way. Kyle's a good opponent, and he hasn't been playing many hands. He also recognizes that I'm in the +1 position, so my range already is really tight. So for him to 3-bet me, it's a pretty narrow range that he's doing it with. And I decide just to put in the flat call, which I wouldn't do against everyone. But for the reasons I just mentioned, I flat call, and we are off to a flop, which comes 8-5 deuce rainbow. Doing nothing but checking on this board, I check it over to Kyle, and he goes for a small bet, to which I look him up and put in the call. I mean, occasionally you could consider going for a check raise, because if anyone's going to have more of the sets here, like 5s and 8s, it's going to be me. But at the same time, I'm under the gun, so when I get 3-bet, I might fold some of those. None of us are going to have deuces. So I'm basically saying if I'm ever going to check raise, this could be a board to do it. But instead, I just look to put in the call, and we are off to the turn. Turn's an interesting card. It brings in ace-4 suited. It comes to 3 of hearts. I'm obviously checking it over to Kyle once again with my queens. Not going to donk out into him on the turn. That'd be silly. And when I check it over to him, he goes for a bet of $1,200. Now sizing up a little bit more and trying to get more value from all of my overpairs that he has crushed. Like the exact holding that I have. When he bets 1,200, I'd be a nit to fold on this turn card, so I decide to put in the call once again, and we see a bad card on the river. It comes the ace of diamonds. A bad card, it's kind of a double-edged sword because the ace of diamonds brings in a lot of his bluffs, like ace king, ace queen. I do double block ace queen, so maybe ace jack as well. However, it also is a good card because it's a scare card for kings, which he does exactly have. So when I check it over to him, you can see he counts out his stack, looking to make another sort of bet, but then ultimately checks behind. I think I lost the minimum there, you guys. $4,000 pot going Kyle's way, but I'm still up around $1,000. It feels like I could have lost a lot more if I decide to come in for the 4-bet preflop. Good on me for not doing that, and we move along into the next hand. We're looking at a king-jack offsuit from the button. $100 straddle is on, as it has been the entire night. I'm basically playing 5,100, you guys. If you're proud of me for playing in these big games and holding my own and coming in for 3 bets with crazy hands, please do me 2 favors. Like the video if you haven't already, and be sure to subscribe. A lot more crazy content coming in the next 5 months in Dallas, Texas. A lot of 25-50, 10-25, and 5,100. Let's go. I decided to raise it up to $250 from the button with king-jack offsuit, or should I say jack-king offsuit. Dong now decides to come in for a re-raise to $1,000 from the +1 position with the a6 off. And I'm not too sure about his raise pre-flop, even though he does have me beat slightly with equity. I'm going to put in the call here and go in position to a flop against Dong. He's a fun player. If you want to get action, you have to give it. I decide to call him with the jack-king offsuit, and we see a flop which comes queen-jack-7. We're in position, and Dong decides to bet out into me for $1,100. Having made a pair, I can't go anywhere just yet. A lot of great turn cards for me, like a 10 or an ace would give me a straight draw. Any jack or king would give me 3 of a kind or 2 pair. So when he bets out for $1,100, I'm not scared money. I put in the call with a second pair good kicker. And we see an interesting card on the turn when it comes the ace of spades. Dong checks it over to me now. He slows down. After making a pair, he decides to slow down. I'm not going to fall into that trap. I wisely check behind. And we see the 10 of diamonds on the river. Bang! We river the straight. $4,300 pot assuredly coming my way. I have the check mark in the hand. 100% of the time, I have this hand locked up. Can he ever have a king in his hand? Sure. When he decides to check it over to me, I decide to go large. 2.6K, I'm targeting all the sets like jacks, queens, aces, 10s, and additionally a lot of 2-pair combos like queen jack, ace queen. So yeah, I decided to go large. Unfortunately, he just has a 1 pair with a bad kicker, and he makes a great fold, but you know what that means? We are scooping in that $6,900 pot. All right, we pick up the jacks from the hijack, and I raise it up to $250. I just noticed that rhymed. Moving right along here, $250, and Dong decides to put in the call. We are going heads up to a flop, which comes ace-10-9 with 2 diamonds, and Dong checks it over to me. I go for a standard c-bet of $500. He folds, and another simple hand in the books, but those add up. You take down $500 to $1,000 pots, and suddenly you're up to $15K in your stack. All right, if I'm going to be playing those premium hands, I also have to be playing a wide variety of hands, such as 7-6 offsuit, and I am in the $100 straddle. Dong decides to raise it up to $250 with the 5-deuce offsuit, so of course I have to give him action with the 7-6 offsuit. And we flop the best hand here when it comes 8-6 deuce with 2 hearts. I check it over to Dong. He bets out for $300, and I'm not getting fooled by that just yet. I put in the call for $300, seeing the 10 of clubs peel off on the turn. Gonna check it over to him once again, and he wisely checks behind with his pair of ducks, and we see a great card on the river where it comes the 6 of spades. I probably should be leading out on this river and get value from any of his 8x and 10x combos, but I decide to play a little bit trappy against Dong. He is a player who will bluff with a lot of his missed flush draws and missed straight draws, so I check it over to him. Unfortunately, he does not have either of those, and he wants to get the showdown with his deuce. His deuce is no good. My 3 of a kind scoops that one in, and we are up to 4K in profit on the night. All right, the hand of the night, you guys. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do that already for the run good. I looked down at pocket aces from the $50 blind. Dong in the hijack raises it up with 6-5 offsuit, pretty standard from him. And Moneymaker looks down at the bullets as well. Yes, aces versus aces. How is all the money not going to get in? Moneymaker decides to 3-bet him to $800, and the action's back over to me. Obviously, I have to come in for the 4-bet. It's going to look super strong, but I do in fact have aces. And I got to get the money in versus kings and queens. We're playing pretty deep, so if I want to get stacks in by the river, I got to come in for that 4-bet, and I decide to make it 2.1K. What's stronger than a 4-bet? A 5-bet. Moneymaker's not going to do it. That would pretty much mean he has aces, and against my exact hand, I mean, he probably would just do it and save all the time and get it all in, but I'm going to have kings and queens here a lot, and if he comes in for a 5-bet, I probably could start to consider folding the jacks and queens and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm going nowhere with kings, but when he puts in the call, we are going off to the flop out of position, which is bad, bad, bad. It comes jack, 9, 8, rainbow. I say it's a bad flop because he's going to have a lot of 9s, 8s, jacks, 10 queens, stuff like that. Additionally, if this board gets any wetter, it's going to get really scary for me as the pre-flop aggressor, but I think I like mixing between betting and checking here. Checking is not a bad play because he's going to have a lot of those sets and 2 pairs and straights. I'm not really going to have many of that except for pocket jacks. I also don't hate betting here because I do have a great hand and I want to get more money in. So I decided to bet out for $1,700, and Moneymaker has a pretty easy call. The board goes from bad to worse when the king of diamonds peels off on the turn, and now I wisely slow down and check. If I was ahead of pocket kings, I am no more, and a lot of his other combos like king jack suited now get there as well. So yeah, I'm going to check it over to Moneymaker and see what he does. I would expect him also to check back with pocket aces a large portion of the time, but it looks like he's been doing some studying and he does not want to check back on this turn card. And into that $8,000 pot comes a bet of $2,500. It's pretty small. It looks like he's trying to just get more money in and figure out where he's at. If I go for a check raise, it pretty much means I have kings or jacks. So yeah, it kind of is a good feeler bet from Moneymaker, and I'm not going anywhere with my aces, even though I'm in a tough spot. And there's a lot of hands that beat me. I still can't just give up on this hand just yet. I decided to put in the call and we go off to the river. As if the board couldn't get any worse, the river now comes the queen of clubs. The only other hand that I was beating, pocket queens, now gets there on the river. I decided to check it over to Moneymaker. I'm sure he's just going to blast the rest of his entire stack in. A $7,000 shove would probably get me to fold. I mean, at that point, what am I beating? I know I have aces and it's crazy to fold that. But like, what would I be beating? Like, let me know down in the comments if Moneymaker decided to shove this river, what would you guys do? I mean, it has to be a fold, right? But luckily, he decides to check back and he turns over aces. So I don't turn my hand over right away. Obviously, I have to slow roll him for the chop. I mean, it's pretty funny. Like, when else are you going to slow roll someone? Aces versus aces on this wet of a board. So after waiting for about 15 seconds, letting him think that he won this hand somehow, I expose my cards and let the table know that we are chopping up that $13,000 pot, and I'm making $200, although I feel like I lost a few years of my life in that pot. $13,000. How did I chop that? King, queen, jack, 9, 8, and I have aces? That's absolutely nuts. All right, you guys, that wraps up that 25, 25, 50 live stream. Got in for 10,000, out for 12,882, a profit of $2,882 in around 4 hours. Pretty good considering I was like one of the few recreational, not super pro type players there. There was like 5 like crushers in the game. So for us to make money was pretty sick. Shout out to Moneymaker. Aces versus aces in that huge pot. And now the game's 25, 50, 100. I'm out. I got enough hands for the vlog. But shout out to all you guys who have made it this far. Drop a subscribe. Let me know what other live streams you want me to be on. And if I host my own, who should be on it. Good luck on the felt, you guys. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace. What's up, you guys? Wolfgang here. I'm here in Dallas at TCH, but on April 20th and 21st, I'm heading all the way down to Houston. That's right, they just opened up a new card room there, and I'm gonna come out to meet a bunch of you guys. The 20th is gonna be a live stream on their YouTube channel, TCH Live, and that's gonna be a 5:10. You guys are gonna wanna watch that. On the 21st, I'm hosting a meetup game from 7 p.m. to midnight. Anyone can make the vlog, and who knows, I might put a bang sticker on you if I'm lucky, not you. I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching to the end of my video. Click my head below to subscribe and stay in the loop. See you next time.